Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. Going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of March 16th through the 22nd. And this week features another critical degree new moon. It seemed to be a lot of critical degree new and full moons this past year at 29 degrees Pisces this time, and it will be sextiling Uranus. Very interesting there. Also, this week, the sun will be going into Aries as we hit the equinox, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, and the fall equinox in the southern hemisphere. And this is also the week that Mercury goes direct. So we're going to feel a lot of that Mercury retrograde energy in outer events this week again. And then it's also the week of the sun's annual conjunction to Neptune. So, got a few things to talk about, a couple other things too. And just for a little business first, the Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube, a YouTube channel for 6 or 7 years now. So if you like what you see and you have a YouTube account, I'd really like you to become a follower. And when you do that, don't forget to turn your notifications on so that you know when the blog comes out and it reminds you. Also, the blog was a podcast long before it was a YouTube channel. It still is a podcast too, the exact same audio as the video version on YouTube. On podcasts frees you up to be able to listen to it, when you're driving to work or whatever. Just go to your app for podcasts and look up Astrological Winds channel. You'll find it several different places. There's a lot of people who've been using that option lately, and that definitely gives you the ability to hear it maybe at times when you might not be able to watch a video that week, because I know our schedules are so busy. Also, if you have a Instagram page, so does Astrological Winds channel. So if you follow that, it will show up on your newsreel, the link to the YouTube channel every week. So that's another way. And then always can find the links on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. And that one, and you'll see a little tab, and that'll not only have this week's blog, but it'll have blogs for like months, for the last few months there, that you can always refer back to. And that's where you'll find all my professional services listed on my website too. Great way to support me when you're ready to get your chart read, or you know someone that is, or you need some other kind of astrological service. Check that out. Check my menu out. I can work with you. Contact me. There's my email here too. All right. So remember, it is a free service. I ask everyone to pass it along every week if they can. Every time you listen to the blog, I'd like you to find someone else to pass it on to if you can handle doing that for me. I handle doing the blog every week, so I don't feel like it's really a lot to ask. And I just really love the blog to spread word of mouth. I think it finds the people who I'm really supposed to be vibing with, so to speak. I just wanted to reflect again, and I know some folks really like when I do this, like this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. It's been it's been an interesting one, and how we can see once again in the world how the aspects are reflected by what is going on in society. The macrocosm of the collective being a reflection of the microcosm of what's going on in our lives individually many times, and so, this whole war that started right like a couple weeks ago, when Israel and the United States started bombing Iran, right when Mercury retrograde was starting. I said right away, this is not going to go the way that anyone's expected. And of course, that's exactly what's happened. But notice also just a few other little things, how exacting astrology can be, right? So the issue right now that's messing things up is like what? Oil and water, right? And what is Pisces? A water sign. That is one, Neptune was discovered when oil was discovered in the 1840s. So there's a connection between Neptune and oil, and Neptune has a lot to do with Pisces, and Pisces has a lot to do with liquids. And so look at what the issues are right now, right? That we didn't expect to have happen, or at least some people didn't expect to have happen, obviously, right? And now are making their excuses up as to why we should get behind it anyway, which is just wonky Mercury retrograde confusion stuff, isn't it? In the individual there. But look on the bigger scale here. All of a sudden oil prices shoot up, right? Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? Why are they shooting up? Because there's this little body of water that most of the world's oil needs to come through to get out to the rest of the world. So water, not only water, but ocean water. Pisces, ocean water. The ocean is very, very reflective or analogous of the collective, just like Pisces energy is all about the collective. So you can see, and then also how Pisces is so much about idealism, right? And how everything that the United States and its leaders are doing right now are going supposedly against the ideals that they were elected on, like no involvement in foreign wars, things like that. So now that's confusing to his followers, and now there's division within that too. Which is Pisces, the dualistic sign. All of a sudden, wait a minute, you're not living up to your ideals. And remember, what did I say about Pisces when it's really negative? The last couple of weeks, the great deceiver, the great pretender, lying, lying to others because we're lying to ourselves. And that's what we got to look at here on an individual level, too, with this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Like, for anybody who's having trouble during this, what are you not being truthful to yourself about, right? What are you being a deceiver to yourself about, or a pretender to yourself about? And yes, that's going to damage your relationships too. It's going to make them confusing or disheartening or disenchanting, or feeling like people are being deceitful or whatever. But when this Mercury retrograde in Pisces is really showing us, if we're supposedly into some ideals and we're not being truthful about following those ideals, then you're lying to yourself, and your relationships and all the stuff going on in your world is going to reflect that. So I think in being a time of reflection, and we still have a week to go with it, that we can really start to think about that and start to maybe try to align what our truth is to our ideals, right? And stop pretending, if that's what we're doing, or stop outright being deceitful about certain things, like what we're seeing play out in the world. So, okay, done with the commenting. Wednesday is the big day this week. The new moon, again, at a critical degree, 29th degree of Pisces, sextiling Uranus. So once again, new moons are always about what? New beginnings, planting seeds, new starts, right? And this is going to be really helpful with the sextile to Uranus. Why? Because Uranus likes new things too. It likes to break into new territory, especially where it sees anything stagnating. And let's go back a little bit to that critical 29th degree. Some of you may have heard me say this before. Why is it a critical degree? It's near the end of the sign. We are supposed to have learned a lot of the lessons about what that sign's all about, right? And if we haven't, and it reaches this critical degree, we have a tendency to have to get what I call left back. Remember when kids used to get left back in school? That kind of thing. Like, you need to learn all these lessons all over again because you didn't learn them this time. So that, for many people, is what's going to happen. If they're still married to their ideals and division and things like that, then they're going to get let back, you know? But if they're ready to change and go to this other side of Pisces that wants to bring things together, that wants to merge things together, that understands an underlying unity of the collective and the energy that underlies the collective, then this could be a really, really positive energy. And this new moon is ready to put us up to a new level where we graduate at this critical degree to another level. Um, so the Pisces, what is that all about? It wants to merge, right? Pisces is about merging energy. It's about completely unifying with things around us. So emotionally, Pisces wants to connect with something that's greater than itself. Many times not even consciously aware of that. When we are, Pisces has so much to do with the subconscious and its desire to merge somehow with the collective and feel safe there. Because that's what the moon wants, right? Security, right? It wants to feel safe in knowing, in this knowing of this connection. So it's always got this, the new moon in Pisces has got this subconscious urge to merge. The urge to merge is what's going on here. And many times that has to do with learning lessons about boundaries, right? Like, are we in balance? Are we shutting too much stuff off? Are we allowing too much stuff in? That's the funny thing with Pisces, we can get really unclear as to what our boundaries are, right? And because of that, we are very sensitive emotionally to others and their emotions. We have what I call a strong emotional intuition. I believe there's two kinds of intuition. And Pisces has a very strong emotional intuition. We pick up on the emotions of others very easily, and that affects us. And what's worst part of when it's affecting us is when we don't realize that's going on, and we think that's actually coming from us instead of from the outside. That can cause a lot of emotional turmoil inside of us, right? And what does that have us do? We're really sensitive. We want to retreat somehow. We're also really sensitive to the environment in Pisces too. Like everything, we're merging. So we're standing on the middle of a busy corner during this new moon. All that busyness is coming right into us, right? Know what I mean? So this is one where people have a tendency then to want to retreat. Pisces is not a very outgoing. It's an introverted yin sign. And so people are going to want to retreat somehow. And this is a good thing if the retreating is in a healthy way. Like if you're going into some place that's quiet where you can contemplate and kind of meditate on this stuff, that's not a bad idea at all. But if your retreat is some kind of form of escapism, that's your normal trigger to that helps you just get away from the reality and the turbulence of your emotions going on and not really process them at all, then that's not the best retreat. I'm talking about, all the addictions that we have. Pisces is really good at being an addict or a victim. And, victimhood is an addiction too, incidentally. Um, but, so this is one also because of that and our sensitivity to the environment too, where we can be very sensitive to like allergies, illnesses, the effects of drugs on us, things like that. So, we have to be really careful with our boundaries with this one and finding the right one. And we can find that balance if we can get into that right contemplative space. Now, some of the really good things about this Pisces energy is it's very creative energy, Pisces. It's creativity that comes through inspiration, that fires the imagination up. And it's one of the most artistic signs, therefore, it really, so if we're artistically inclined, which I think we all are in some way or another, then this is a time where we can really get that creativity out and otherwise, many people use this for spiritual journeys. Pisces is one, once again, that at oneness energy that Pisces has is very much like a lot of the Eastern world religions and the merging of everything. So people go on spiritual energies, journeys on this one. And that's once again a really good way to use this energy. So what you want to do, look at your chart and where 29 degrees Pisces is, right? And whatever house that's in, that's where you're going to feel this initiating energy of this new moon. Um, and that's the area of life where you're going to, maybe go for some new things, start some new things up. Now, the sextile to Uranus, I think, is just so valuable in this new moon. All right. And right away, the reason I say that is because I think it's going to help bring a lot of balance into Pisces. There's two things really that right away come to my intuition about the sextile to Uranus. The first thing is that's really helpful during a new moon, right? Because Uranus is seeking out something new too, right? And so that's like doubling up that new moon energy of wanting to break through into something new, wanting to have some kind of new experience, right? And so it's an initiator. It'll help push doing something new, right? And the second thing that jumped out to me right away is what this brings in great balance to the Pisces energy of that kind of nebulous, abstract kind of energy that Pisces has, because Uranus is the higher mind. It's the intuition. It's sharp. It's clear, right? So I really think that this is one where it'll bring balance. It'll brings like some sharpness to the ideals that we have. And then it will see opportunities out there where you can start to allow some new experiences in that are more aligned with your ideals. And that will be really, really exciting kind of energy. I mean, when you think about, Uranus just sextiling the moon and sun is seeking out something new, right? It's ready for a new experience. It's ready for some new people to hang out with. It's ready, to do something different. And it respects your freedom and it wants freedom for itself, even within the context of relationships, right? So it's a really, really interesting energy in the sense of like, okay, I want that energy coming in. Now, interestingly enough, you think about Pisces though, it's a yin sign, and sextiles are opportunities, right? So this means these are opportunities that are going to come to us. And there's a certain thing about opportunities that I need to be really clear with you guys about. They come and go unless we take them, right? Opportunities aren't something that's forced on us and it's going to happen. We have to initiate when we get the opportunity. So that's why I like the fact that, not only is it a new moon, but it's Uranus, because Uranus does want to initiate, it does want to do that. One of the things too about, with the Uranus energy too, it'll give us the opportunity to use science and technology to make some changes too, to bring maybe some of these new beginnings into us may come through that. But I really love the way that, this brings like a balance between ideals and initiative, and that, especially on the creative, intellectual, and emotional levels, I think there's just like some really great energy that you can tap into if you're aware of the opportunities and that going. And it's really going to stimulate the mind. It really is going to want us to get going. Now, this new moon, since it's in Pisces, is therefore ruled by Jupiter, right? And Jupiter, just what happened to Jupiter last week, it just went direct in the sign of its exaltation, Cancer. So we're going to get help from Jupiter too on this one. Jupiter is it's the greater benefit planet. So if we're going to initiate these changes and look for something new, look for some new connections, look for some new experiences, Jupiter is going to bring a lot of benefit in through that, right? It's going to really make that energy manifest into some really good stuff if we take the action on it. Interestingly enough, too, exact on that day, I don't have it here on the board, but Venus is exactly square Jupiter on the day of the new moon. So that means the two beneficial planets are in aspect to one another. And even though it's a square, their beneficial qualities override the tenseness of the square. And what I really think is that that means that relationships are going to probably be the place where we're going to get some of these beneficial opportunities to come in, and they can bring a lot of benefit in the real world, right? And it's so really interesting energy on this new moon. Really want to take a look at that, where it is in your chart, and like, if you send some of these opportunities coming up that help you break through and into new ground, that's really stimulating and exciting, it's the time to go for it. All right. So that's what I got on the new moon. Then Friday's the other big day this week, although the whole weekend actually has a bunch of stuff going on. But Friday is the day that the sun starts its new annual cycle by going into Aries, the sign of its exaltation, where the sun is really strong. And it's the same day that Mercury goes direct. So, like, in a way, right, the sun going into its new cycle on the same week as the new moon is very helpful again, because it's energy that's new energy. It wants to push, and so, it's in its sign of exaltation because the sun and Aries have a lot to do with the individual, the self. And so this is a time where we should be really start to get energized on Friday, especially on the physical level, right? And we'll move around a lot quicker now, and we actually may get impatient with people or situations that we feel are forcing us to slow down. In fact, we'll even possibly lose our temper or get angry about that. This is very much about taking our independence, doing our own journeys, and we don't like other people interfering with that, right? We don't like situations that slow us down or interfere with that, and it's a very competitive energy. It wants to be seen somehow, it wants to get recognition, it wants to be the winner somehow, be in that spotlight, right? And so that's where it can get troublesome too, because how far you want to take that can get you into some trouble. And sometimes, like I said, people, when under Aries, we can get angry a lot quicker. You can throw like a little tantrum even, but we're quick to get blow the anger off too, and also be able to like just move on from it quickly, kind of to let it go quickly. So there is a little bit of an odd juxtaposition which goes on there. But but with Aries energy, we are very direct. We're very honest. We're very frank, to the point of being tactless, right? To the point of like hurting other people's feelings without even like, taking into account what we're saying. We're very unaware a lot of times of the effect of our energy on the environment. And so it can have like a really like, disturbing effect if we're coming in with this really competitive, aggressive kind of energy. I mean, assertive is good, but aggressive is too far. And that line with Aries can be very, very difficult to, stay on the right balance or the right side of that. We're always we're kind of looking for a new adventure with Aries, and we can sometimes be irresponsible with our normal duties. With that, we can get like flippant careless, sloppy in looking for some kind of personal glory. That kind of a lot of ego involved with this with Aries. So it's the energy, the archetype of the warrior that wants to protect its loved ones. So make sure that that energy is being used in something that's good, that's taking care of people and not just this aggressive, blown off energy, that's very self involved and into its own glory. And make sure that don't forget about taking away, living your everyday existence too, and the responsibilities of that, like not just flying off in a direction. It's hard, at times that can be very challenging to do, we have a lot of courage when there's Aries. We have a lot of energy. We have a lot of positive attitude about going for something new. So we can be really confident, and a lot of good stuff can happen out of that. But we just have to be aware of how our actions are affecting others, because we can definitely get really lost in the self with that energy. Now, Mercury is going direct on Friday, and that does not mean we are out of the Mercury retrograde issue woods at all. In fact, if anything, this weekend coming up, we'll see like probably an uptick in what I call the external events that manifest as Mercury retrograde, the things that are delays or mess us up some way, or miscommunications or wrong information, all that kind of stuff will really, from the outside world, external events, now that Mercury is turning direct but standing still, will probably really increase this weekend. So it'll be another weekend to watch how the world reacts. There'll probably be a lot of confusion once again in the world, probably driven by like some of these events that really were not well timed in their initiation the last few weeks. So really interesting. So that whole weekend, the whole next weekend, just expect a lot of Mercury retrograde. And remember, we'll be in the shadow of Mercury retrograde for the next couple weeks. So it'll slowly loosen its grip. You'll feel it turn around. If you're aware of the subtle energy, you'll feel it turn around right away. But there's a lot of residual stuff that still needs to play out that started during those 3 weeks. But anything that we start that's new, you'll feel that energy starting to move forward, especially on the very base beginning levels of it. And then, within a couple weeks, we should be back to that normal pace, although Mercury's still in Pisces until April 15th, in the sign of its detriment and fall. So still a lot of confusion until at least mid-April. And then Saturday, there's a Mars trine Jupiter, and this is a really, really, really energizing energy with this one. So Saturday and the weekend is a good weekend to get into projects that you're really into and get some work done on them. You have a really good attitude about it, and our bodies should be feeling really strong, healthy. So it's a really good combination to get a lot of work done, to get a lot of things done, and you enjoy yourself while you're doing it, because you're really wanting what you're trying to do to have happen. And a good time for like any kind of adventures too, like going out hiking or whatever, whatever you do for adventures, or like sports or athletics, anything like that. There's going to be a really good, and it's one of those those things where you're in the zone, as the athletes call it, like being in the zone. So anything that you do, it's going to feel really good too. It's going to like your attitude is going to be really good during it, because you're going to be really interested in what you're doing. And that really mixes in good with the sun in Aries, by the way. That's a really great energy next weekend to get things done. And you can also focus this energy on business and make a lot of progress too. So if you've got business projects going on, great time to do some work where you'll feel really decisive about what you're doing, very confident about what you're doing, and you should get results that pay off. It can almost feel like it's a good luck day sometimes with that energy. And then Sunday, we have the sun's annual conjunction to Neptune on Sunday. And so that is a very different energy than the Mars Jupiter, right? This is actually slows energy down. So it's a really nice Sunday vibe kind of energy, in my opinion, actually. It's very subtle, the energy. You're very aware of the energy around you on subtle ways. Once again, just like the Pisces new moon can be very sensitive to other people's moods and the environment around you, and you respond really well to that, and you know what's needed, and you can respond to that. Once again, too, brings up a lot of interest in spiritual, psychic, paranormal, supernatural, the occult world. So a lot of us may spend some time, you know, on energy on things like that, things that are secret or hidden are very interesting to us. Now, the other effect of this, unfortunately, is that, and especially when you think about where the world is in Mercury retrograde peaking again on the weekend, is this one can actually have you feel really beaten down by the circumstances going on in the world, and that may be your world or the ideal, but it just shows that your ideals keep crashing on those hard shores of the world, and they kind of like keep failing, and so that can be exhausting, both psychologically and physically. And it can be a day where your energy really chills down. And just like that Pisces moon stuff, you could look for some form of escapism to try to get away from the world. Once again, the more positive way to do that would be to withdraw, contemplate, meditate, filter through your emotions and stuff. And the more negative side would be to go into some habit that is some form of escapism where we're not dealing with our feelings at all about stuff like that. So, and once again, just like the Pisces new moon, this one will give a lot of inspiration, a lot of imagination. So very rich in that level. So that's what I got for us for this week. Now, next week is not nearly as active. I know, since the sun is conjuncting Neptune, and we know we have that Saturn Neptune conjunction. Now, Saturn's a little ahead. We are going to get the annual conjunction of the sun to Saturn, and it'll also be touching Pluto. Venus is going to conjunct Chiron next week, too. Next week is also the exact hit of the big long-term aspect of the week that I talked about on the monthly, when Saturn will sextile Pluto. So I'll be talking about all that stuff next week, and there's a really good chance I will look at April next week too, because the week after that I'll have a full moon to talk about again. So I'll probably have time to do the monthly April one for next week too. So that's what I got for you. I really need you to pass this link along right now to somebody else in your contacts list. If you'd like to give a currency donation, no amount is too small. It actually costs me a little money to put the blog out every month. And my Venmo is at the symbol at, then Matthew with two T's and a hyphen in the middle, and then LAUTEN, capital L. My Cash App, $ Matthew Lawton, all one word, two T's, no hyphen or anything in that one. LAUTEN. No amount is too small. Even $5 helps me out, and I appreciate everyone who's ever done that for me. I know there's some repeaters out there too. Best way you can help me is when you're ready for a reading, or someone else is ready for a reading, and a professional reading. This is way different than getting a computer printout or looking at a book yourself or having a friend who dabbles a little bit. If you're ready for that, then just get in touch with me. Check out the website. I've got my menu there. The prices are there. If you need to work in installments on prices, I can do that. I would love to do your chart. It never leaves you. Invest in yourself. Find some self-fulfillment in the world. Work with your energies. Take it back. Take control of your life again. And every year you should get a predictive reading around your birthday too, so you know what's going to be hitting you for the next year. But I also do relationship charts, children's charts, fixed star readings for deeper soul purpose, elections, relocation, and then also it looks like we're getting really close to starting a beginner's class. It may happen most likely in the next month. So if you've been waiting and hesitating, it's time to get on board. And if you want to do the live class and I can get enough people, it's only going to cost $25 a class, which I know is a great deal. And we'll meet anywhere from 2 to 4 times a month. It looks like it's going to be starting soon. So get on board with that. If you've been waiting and you really like to learn a lot deeper of a level, I'm willing and ready to do that for you folks. So, and then also if you have a group that's looking for a lecture, a workshop, any kind of like class or mini readings for your event, stuff that can even be done online live. I'm available for that too. So just check the website out. My direct email is matthure823 right down here. And if you can pass that link along, I appreciate it. Oh, and then the other thing is, since it is the equinox later this week, there's a good chance I'll do an extra blog on the equinox chart set for the United States so that we can look at the next quarter. Because, gosh, that last quarter one was sure right on, wasn't it, about this past quarter? So we can continue to take a look at that and see what may be in store for us. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Please pass the link along. Please check out the website and get that reading when you're ready for it. I'd really love to help you out with that one. Take care now.